Sweat Equity Podcast and Streaming Show, the #1 comedy business podcast in the world. Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with the real raw dog talk. No Eric today on this episode. He's out on vacation, possibly getting a sex change, who knows. But I definitely dicked this up because I recorded this days ago and went to go do a stand-up set and forgot to do this intro, put it all together. I also didn't know with Zoom interviews, it's best to do it on local recording to save your hard drive. I did it to the cloud. So if you're watching this video, if you're watching this intro, I look insane. I look like John McAfee. So I decided to get a little silly before I get this episode out this week. Listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your mom's Walkman, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, all the things you listen to podcasts on. This episode sponsored by Squarespace, your all-in-one website builder for your brand, your e-commerce, your personal website or your business website. It's scalable. You get the hookup with the link in the description. Holler if you hear me. It hooks this show up. Speaking of which, another sponsor, CallRail. Get some call swap numbers on your website to track all your leads coming in when people call you. And it also records them too, so you can get some quality assurance out of your team. Call tracking by CallRail. Again, promo link is in the description. Bigly Sales is another sponsor, CRM plus your marketing outreach, email, SMS, phone marketing, and now integrates with Zapier, which that means 5,000 apps integrate. It's pay as you go. It's the cheapest out there. You're not going to find any more cost-effective kind of CRM plus marketing outreach app in the business. And lastly, LinkedIn Premium. Try 2 months free. You want to stalk those people on LinkedIn. You want to get that little LinkedIn like orangey logo next to your name so people know you're a stalker. But really, the data on LinkedIn is probably the best there is out there if you have active people as targets. Link is in the description to get the hookup on 2 months free, baby. 2 free months, LinkedIn Premium. And of course, if you want to be our BFFs, subscribe to the pod, rate the show 5 stars, and write a short review. Share this show with a friend, a loved one, maybe someone you don't even like. Do it that way. Let's get it going.
What's up, Law? How are you?
Brenden, how you doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
We're just going, man. Yeah, we had a scheduling snafu, not in our normal studio. Mr. Eric Redinger is on vacation on the other side of Florida, the Space Coast. So just he may try to join if he can, but I don't trust beach house Wi-Fi.
All good, man.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but any beach house, lake house, lodge Wi-Fi, it's always 2 decades behind.
I'll change with Starlink soon, but not yet though.
Ooh, I like that. So yeah, it's just we just keep it like a fun convo, some business. I'll try to add some blue humor as per normal. For our audience out there listening, can you hook up people where to find you, social? What's your call to actions, sir?
For sure, Law. So it's 2. So one is the YouTube channel, which is just Master Talk. And the second one is to attend one of our free communication workshops. And that's rockstarcommunicator.com. So
I was on your YouTube today, listening to video as I'm trying to do a little prep before we get on these episodes.
Sure.
Well, we like to come at it from the mouth of babes, right? Like we want to speak for the audience that may not be super business savvy or very or drill down in a certain area. That's our lazy way of justifying not preparing. You seem all prepped, but before I get into that, I want to ask you a question we ask everybody who comes on the podcast as a first-time guest. Well, there's 2 actually. Did you listen to the podcast?
I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, good. See, we're both We're both improv. We're both on the fly. You've done so much stuff already. It's not a big deal for you to have to listen. The other part is, this is the real question. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
13-year-old self? I would say be insane or be the same would be the advice. If you try and be like everybody else, you're going to get the same results as everybody else. So you need to be a little crazy to be successful.
Be insane or be sane? Is that what it was?
No, be insane or be the same.
Oh, be insane or be the same. So where did you grow up? What made you kind of come up with that philosophy?
Yeah, I actually came up with it in the basement because I realized it rhymed and I got really excited. So I wrote it down. But the backstory around Master Talk, which is more of my field of expertise, was I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was never the goal with me. I wanted to be an accountant, funny enough. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. But then I got into these things called case competitions, think professional sports for nerds. Other guys were playing basketball. I was doing presentations competitively. Learned how to speak. Then realized no one was sharing that stuff for free. So I started making videos. Then it turned to a coaching business later.
Did you grow up in this country? What part of the country?
I'm based in Montreal. In Montreal.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Canadian, but my parents are from Sri Lanka. They immigrated from Sri Lanka to Canada in like the early 90s.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you think Montreal, as it is bilingual, and then growing up with parents from, Sri Lanka, you might be trilingual, but
you're correct.
Do you think that kind of assisted in getting you to hear in an indirect way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes me more relatable because I struggle with communication most of my life. To your point, that since you know Montreal well, is you're right. So I didn't know French, so I had to learn it. So I went to French school, which means I had to present in a language I didn't even know. Right. So I struggled a lot with speaking growing up.
Huh. Yeah. No, I've only been to Montreal once.
Hey, once is more than most people. So there you go.
On a bachelor party that felt like 5 weeks.
I don't even know what that means. It felt like 5 weeks. Was it like super intense, you mean?
It was 5 days. It felt like 5 weeks. It took a hurting on me in my early 20s. It was, I saw things that I'll leave off this show.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty transparent on the show, but to not make you cringe, I'll save it a bit. But you have interesting strip clubs, which coming from Tampa, that's the highest compliment because we're strip club city.
Sure.
Yeah, when you can impress someone from Tampa, a whole group of guys from Tampa at a strip club, it's pretty fascinating. And what's not a good look is like 20 bro dude guys in their 20s walking around Montreal. Everyone's like in our group was like, why are all these French Canadians like so snooty to us? I'm like, we're literally like 20 bros that look like we stayed too long in a fraternity in college. We're literally throwing a football to each other as we're walking around town.
Oh, literally.
Group. Just like as we're walking to wherever, throwing a football. I'm like, we couldn't look more like assholes, So I loved it though. I was able to kind of sneak away and go do some different stuff over there. But communication to me is very underrated. We have more methods than ever to communicate, and I think we're atrophying as a whole. I feel like people, I value it big time with the work I do, running a advisory meets a marketing agency, and also doing fractional CMO work. I feel like that is my big value add, because part of it is because I've done stand-up since 2007, right?
Mm.
So I used to keep those worlds kind of separate. And then part of the communication where it really hit was I would tell people, in discovery meetings, hey, if I use some weird metaphors, if I'll weave in between professional and kind of casual in the same sentence or, thought. That's kind of how I roll at a lot of the time. But what that did was open up the conversation a lot. Do you find there's any ways you're communicating where you're in a situation where you have to kind of preface something so that it kind of relaxes the person you're talking to or the people as an audience? Do you have any tips like that or anything?
Yeah, for sure, like how do you make people feel at ease? And I think a lot of it doesn't really have to do with the words that you say, though those are important, but it's really the energy that you bring that conversation. Like if you come in guns blazing, like, yo, what's up? Like then it's like, oh shit, like this. So someone who's really introverted will get really worried and might start to cry. But if you come in like just matching their energy, they feel a lot more comfortable around you.
That's called mirroring, right?
You got it, yeah.
In the sales world, I guess. Yeah. And if you come in with Jack Lemmon from Glengarry Glen Ross energy, because you in real life you need this sale or you need this client,
right,
or whatever, that comes off a lot of just talking meetings communication. A lot of it is like dating. If you come into eager, or sometimes just I'm very earnest in the things I'm into, and sometimes I think people think that comes off as like eager and like I don't know, it gives a cringy kind of factor, and I'm like, no, I'm just whatever I like I'm into, and I'll get into it. But I feel like a lot of meetings, client business wise, can feel like dating in a lot of ways. Is that fair?
Oh, I think there's a lot of analogies for sure.
And you want to get that second date. That's all you're gunning for usually.
I'm with you.
I had to watch your How to Present Like Kevin Hart video as I was going through them. I was like, well, I got to watch that one. And it's about being actionable while communicating. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny about your style. I didn't even realize the podcast started.
Oh, you didn't hear me at the beginning?
Yeah,
we're live on tape, man. We try to keep it as efficient for guests and us as possible.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I just realized that 9 minutes in. So yeah, for Kevin Hart law, you know what I realized was, look, first of all, I have a lot of respect for stand-up comedians because it's really difficult to do that work, get people to laugh, get people to react to you, but the only thing you got is a mic. So what Kevin has done really well is that he's mastered different areas of communication throughout his life. He's like done audiobooks, he's done podcasting, he's done it as a guest, he's led conversations, he's done stand comedy, he's acted in movies. So because of that, he has a really versatile skill set around speaking, and that's what he uses whenever he speaks in general, and that's really helped his arsenal a lot.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned in the video was he didn't say it this way, but he kind of has undeniable presence and positive energy, right? The guy works, he has a work ethic that you can feel, you can sponge it up almost. It's contagious in a good way.
Right.
And I feel like he's presenting him. That's who he is when he's activated, for lack of a better term. Now on stage, he does a lot of act outs, a lot of performing with jokes and stuff. So that for sure. But you mentioned the other aspects where he's communicating, and it is that thing of like, how about this? It made me think of Tom Cruise, right? And every story you hear about him, everybody says the same thing. He makes you feel like you're the only person in the world, right? He makes you feel like you're the celebrity when you meet him because he's so engaged in the conversation. Now, I don't know if that's a Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard kind of thing. But the guy is very engaging, and I don't know if that's something where it's deliberate or he's just that way, or I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Tom has done some is great at building relationships with people. I remember one interview in particular he had with the guy named Kevin McCarthy, who's really, really good at asking really thoughtful questions. And just the way that Tom Cruise interacted with him, it really felt that Kevin thought he was a celebrity himself. And I think there's a lot we can learn. I'm not sure so much on the Scientology. I know he's a part of that religion, but I'm not sure how much that has affected his career though, and also why he's still in it. That's another, I guess, mystery.
It's in our backyard. We're in Tampa. It's in our backyard over in Clearwater across the bay. So I feel like if I'm circling around Scientology, I'll have to bring it up for some reason. Well, I find it fascinating. Plus, there's areas of town over here where they hand out personality tests, like a flyer, and you're like, it's kind of insulting. Like, here, take a personality test. We'll tell you if you got a good personality or not. I was like, I was having a fine day before you gave me this flyer. You know? I didn't think I had something wrong, but apparently you saw me and went, that guy. So when you get executives, when you get someone that's interested in your services and I'll back it up for a second. The one thing I tell everybody who has a fear of public speaking, because you get asked a lot. Jerry Seinfeld has a quote about more people would rather be in the box than give the eulogy, because it's the number one fear is public speaking, which is wild. And when I've ever been asked, like, how do you get good or how do you reduce that kind of anxiety or fear? I say take improv classes. And if my company grows a little bit bigger where we actually have more full-time people, I want that to be part of the onboarding is you have to do an improv class. Here's why. Because how many situations, the setting you walk into to give a presentation, a speech, it's never perfect. They'll give you like a lav mic in your hand, you know, like, oh, sorry, the microphone's broken. And you're like, okay, I'll just yell, you know, I'll just project. Or like something's messed up. I can't tell you how many gigs I've done where I've walked in and they're like, oh, this is for a charity where it's $500 a plate and people are going to be eating while you're doing stand-up behind a pulpit. And you're like, this is the worst scenario. I can see everybody eating, right? And they don't know stand-up comedy's happening. So like I've walked into those gigs and you got to figure out how to turn them around, right? And now I'm a little pessimistic when I go to a non-comedy club show where I'm like, something's not going to be correct on the stage. We don't need much. I need a mic. I need lights, a tiny stage, maybe a stool. That's about it. But somehow that's a bridge too far for a lot of people. When I go into business meetings, sometimes where I used to have to give like real important, you know, we're trying to get a partnership with this company for our company. You know, this is a big deal. We need you to present. And it's like, I'm going to walk in, clicker's not going to work. TV won't work. Something won't work. And I always kind of default to that in a lot of ways and go, all right, what's the lowest common denominator? Can I give this PowerPoint without having to use the PowerPoint, really? And so it's like a little bit prep, but also learning those improv. This is the most leading question I've ever asked. I didn't mean to give this like a 5-minute like intro, but what do you feel when people are they're very introverted, they're terrified? Where do you start?
No, I feel you actually had a lot of great points there, Law, especially with your story around improv. You actually explained it better than me in a lot of ways, where sometimes when you go into boardrooms or different settings, and I love your tie-in with stand-up, where you just don't know what's going to happen sometimes. You cannot just prepare for the best case scenario. It's a losing strategy. Because if you go into a presentation and just one small thing is off, your whole game gets thrown off. It's just my version of taking improv classes, because that might be a stretch for somebody who's a little bit more introverted. It's not a bad thing. I've done improv too. I think it's a great way to get people to speak more effectively. It's to do a smaller version of that, which is the random word exercise, which you could literally do at your home right now as you're listening to this, where you take a word like tissue box or plate or towel, and you create a 60-second presentation out of thin air on the word. So let's say you pick towel, you just give a 60-second presentation on towel, and that allows you to practice improv in a way that's comfortable, but that also makes you do the harder thing. And that's also the solution that I brought that you explained really well too. Rich, for me, it's not about, jumping up and down and deep breathing to get over a fear. It's just do the harder thing so that everything in the boardroom becomes a joke.
Yeah, and what improv taught me, because I did it when I was 24 and I did it to get better at stand-up, honestly, because I would get nervous. Like I just didn't have a wealth of experience as an adult yet, right? And I wanted to host to work my way up, because hosting is kind of the best thing you can do. If anybody's listening, you don't have to do this in a stand-up setting. You can MC a lot of professional functions, and that's a very similar one-to-one, because you have to come in. In Canada, actually, the MC is like the headliner, because they're the main attraction for stand-up shows, I guess. But my point being is, like, I did so many hosting gigs because I knew it would get me better, and I did improv to get me better at hosting, because I needed to a glass breaks, right? You got to be right on top of that. You don't go, ooh, you have to be like, sorry, Cosby got the waitress or something like that. You have to like be on top of it and just have something, right? And part of improv is they tell you to, it's the opposite of stand-up. They tell you to blank out, right? You can prep a lot before you do improv, but really you need to have a blank mind, and that's where you start from. And it sounds counterintuitive, but it helps. And I use that for any business presentation too. I go, okay, I know enough about it. I know the beats. I don't know it verbatim, but I can get to it. This has a climax. It has a storytelling aspect to it. Act 1, A, B, C, whatever you want to call it. But when I come into it, you take a breath and go, something's going to be fucked up when I walk in this room. So and I go, I'll also think, here's a lesson I learned was no one gives a shit about whatever you're doing as much as you do. So that's a very crass way to say it. But it's true. It's like, no one's thinking about the setting for your presentation, and no one's thinking about how nervous you should be. They're worried about their own shit for the most part. How can you tell me kind of some success stories of people coming in, and how you got them to be the top 1% communicators in their industry?
Yeah, for sure, Law. And to your point, to defend your argument there, I don't think that's crass. I think it's uplifting, right? Because if people don't give a shit as much as you do about the thing, that's also a good thing, because it creates a lot less anxiety and a lot less stress in the presentations that you're delivering.
Well, as my dad would say, I have a bad vocabulary because I cuss, and it's immature, as he would say. So
immature.
Yeah. Yeah. He uses mature and immature. And I'm like, I'm not going to correct him on that. I guess you could say it that way. He was a lawyer for 30 years. So he finds he's very careful with his words, and he doesn't speak a lot. So it's kind of like, I'm the opposite. Like, he's frightened to get on stage. And like, it's no big deal at this point for me.
Love that.
But yeah, can you tell some success stories of how people come into Master Talks or work with you?
Yeah, for sure, Law. So for me, I think the one that creates a lot of magic for me personally is the tech CEO who's really introverted. Like, one of my clients, she's the CEO of a tech company where she creates like nail polish, but it's a glass that you put on your fingernails. So women don't have to change their nail polish. They just go on an app and change the colors automatically, which is really cool. So they don't have to switch colors all the time. And her product works well. Like, she's still testing it out, but it's going to be functional. But the challenge is she doesn't want to speak on a stage. She doesn't want to answer questions on a panel. And I told her, I said, hey, look, you have great tech, but if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to learn how to get on a stage. You got to be the CEO of the business. You got to know how to lead people. So yes, did I get rid of her ums and ahs? Yes. Did I help her with her vocal tone projection? Yes. Did I help her use her eye contact effectively to answer tough questions? Absolutely. But I think the most important thing, Law, was changing her identity from being a researcher with a PhD in organic chemistry to being the CEO of this business and actually driving it home so she could raise a lot of money for her startup, which she did, thankfully, for all of us. So that was really the success story I'm really proud of.
That's a great story. And that's one of those things. This is where I feel like communication is underrated, because if you're an introverted kind of founder, CEO kind of thing, and you kind of have to be on a lot. And I call it kind of internal branding, where you're getting your message to your employees, the people that are working for you. You don't have to motivate them, but you definitely have to have servant leadership in a way, but you definitely have to communicate what's going on. Because look, I've worked with over 1,000 companies small businesses at this point, or startups, small businesses, medium businesses. And the big thing a lot of leadership lacks is kind of proactively communicating what's going on. Here's what we did. Here's where we are. Here's what we want to do. Right. And I've sometimes been like, you could do a 10-minute podcast every week to let all the employees know just overall what's going on. So because that creates an anxiety a lot of people at the office would have. They'd be like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what we're doing, and that's a simple fix to me. But like, you have to be internal, internally branding and kind of be a leader for your people, you got to go out and find funding a lot of the times. That means you got to be able to military-like callback to explain any question, right? Not be nervous. I think the biggest thing is reps. They just need reps a lot of the time. Oh, and you're doing two things I notice good communicators and coaches do. You'll compliment the thing I'm saying. You'll find a good compliment, which I'll take all the time. Look, I just went for a jog in Boys Town area over here on Sunday so I could get whistled at because I needed a little ego lift.
Wait, what do you mean by whistled out? Like by women, you mean?
No, by gay bars.
Oh, cool.
I'll run in the gay part of town just to get a little whistle. It makes me feel good. But so I'll take compliments any way I get them. But
respect.
Yeah, you do the thing where I notice Mark Garrigo's power attorney does this too. When I hear him, he'll bring, that's a good question, or that raises a good point, makes the other person feel really good. And then you also reiterate my name as you're answering. Are those tactics, or is that just natural?
Yeah, so there are definitely techniques, but I do them so many times that it just becomes natural, just in my subconscious. But I'll add more flavor. So one, on the name, Dale Carnegie says it so well: the sweetest sound to a person's ear is the sound of their own name. So that's why, and your name is really easy to pronounce. So Law. So yeah, so it's simple. I can see, maybe I'm sure somebody's talked about it before. I can see why your dad named you Law, because he was a lawyer. So now you're Law.
Well, he's Larry, and I'm the junior. And you can't, going by Lawrence is a little too regal, and Larry, under the age of 50 right now, is probably not a cool name.
That's true.
And then my son's the third, and we call him Trip. So
he's also Larry.
Well, he's the third. So I always like the Southern guys, not Trey, like a 3-pointer. I like Trip. Southern guys that are thirds go by that. So fun.
I love it. I'm learning something new every day. So but the other piece though, Law, about the compliments. So the compliment only works if it's meaningful. So if you just go notice in this interview, I didn't just go, yeah, Law, I really like your share, really good point, and I moved on. I didn't do that. So I said, hey, the reason why I like your point is because you went into that direction. In that direction, like when you talked about stand-up comedy, and I went focalized on it. So the compliments need to be specific and meaningful. If they're not, eventually people will see through the BS and they won't think it's genuine anymore.
Yeah, it can dovetails into other things, but it has to be genuine, is basically what you're saying.
Except the whistling thing, which I can respect as well.
Well, I'm very I try to be as transparent on the show, and sometimes I need a little pick me up.
Hey, we all do, man, from different sources, from different places.
Look, it's not like I get whistled at when I'm doing stand-up or in a business meeting, so where am I going to get it? I just like that exists. It used to be a construction worker thing. I was jogging around town, and I was like, I'm gonna make this long jog, and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna run by our version of Bourbon Street, which is 7th Avenue here, and I was like, let's see if the gays are out. They'll give me some love. While I run by, I filmed it. It's on my Instagram. Anything we keep these pretty quick. As far as we try to keep it around 30 minutes.
Yeah, I got to drop in 4 minutes anyway. So
I've been stuttering and stammering, so you've probably been auditing that the whole time. I probably sound like the Chris Farley show sketch where it's like, oh, Paul McCartney, you were in the Beatles. Is that cool? What advice can you give those out there? Hit up your YouTube channel, subscribe to that. You have sometimes we have guests on that have YouTube channels, and I listen to some of the videos and I'm like, who is this for? But it definitely, yours are very well thought out. It definitely looks like you put a lot of love into it and really put some time into thinking of the people who are listening to them, because it's not just long and drawn out, right? Any advice you can give our listeners out there that are on the fence about maybe contacting you, watching your videos, or or what? Because I'm sure there's a psychological hurdle that I'm sure you have a term for it, but I don't know what it is. For people to kind of get over the hump of just even asking for help.
For sure, Law. For me, it always starts with, start with the random word exercise. Just practice on your own. Build the momentum in your skill set. And then when you start to feel that fire, you're like, yeah, I really want to take my game seriously. Then the next step with us would just be attending one of our free workshops. So we do like a free training where it's like a Zoom call and there's like 50 people on it, and we just do a free workshop, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want to jump on that, just go to rockstarcommunicator.com and you could just attend that. And you could be anybody. You don't have to be an executive.
Can I jump in and just tell like 2 minutes of dirty jokes and then bounce?
Probably not, but with you,
no, I wouldn't do that.
With you, maybe I'll make an exception.
I don't fuck with people's wallet like that. But as much as I'd love to bomb it and just come in and just say the crassest joke I have. All right. I appreciate you coming on. Sorry, we'll have to have you back on when we're at full steam with both Eric and I in our studio. But this is great. And I subscribe to the YouTube channel, so
that's a big win. I'll take that as a big win. Thanks, man.
Hell yeah, I'll watch it. I'm unprofessional, as you probably ascertained this whole time.
Hey, you have the success. I mean, you're a fractional CMO, so the results speak for themselves.
Well, I've got, as my orthodontist said, I have big teeth and a little mouth, so it makes me mumble, and that doesn't help the actual articulation of things. But who cares? All right, appreciate it, buddy. Have a good one.
You too, man. Thanks, bro.